We, as the EFF, do not subscribe to unity based on skin color alone in our pursuit for liberation. We subscribe to a political unity defined by ideological conviction and honest politics, a unity that will bring about the defeat of our strategic enemy. Our enemy knows that it is the EFF that is the true liberation movement and not a pocket knife for individuals and self-gratification. We are now in a fight to defend the cause of liberation from losing legitimacy because criminals want to use ideology as a weapon of self-defense. If we allow the politics we subscribe to be delegitimized by criminals masquerading as messiahs of black unity, it will take decades of the left to regain credibility, and right-wingers and capitalists will rule us for centuries to come.
I'm a king. Yes.
On a personal note, I would like to thank my late grandmother, who remains my guiding angel. Even in moments where it feels difficult, it feels giving up and surrender due to lacks and difficulty that comes with being attacked from within. It is my grandmother's guiding wisdom that kept me going. She is the one who named me a soldier. And as a result, I've become a soldier of the people. Her solid courage motivates me to remain committed to this movement and to the struggle for economic freedom in our lifetime. To merely say you are progressive does not mean you are progressive. To merely state that you are on the left or that you are black conscious does not make you leftist or black conscious. To belong to these categories is proven through action, through ideological persuasion, through practice. Black unity and has always been imperative in South Africa, but blackness should not be used as a shield for opportunism or to escape one's own wrongdoing. The disparate need for black solidarity must not be taken advantage of by individuals who manipulate the black identity to avoid accounting for how they have jeopardized the cause of black liberation. There are forces in South Africa today who have discovered the cause of black unity after they previously undermined it while they were in power, and this discovery is manipulative. You as delegate must ask yourself, where was this black consciousness and black unity when the Marikana workers were killed? Whose blood nourished the birth of this economic emancipation movement, while the so-called new leaders of black unity were sitting as state president and even justified the killing of mine workers in Marikana, who were all, by the way, black. Did the need for black unity not exist when the youth of this country were shot, jailed, and killed for demanding free education under the new messiah of black unity? When the EFF offered its 6% in Parliament to amend the Constitution of South Africa to expropriate land without compensation, and this was rejected by the former liberation movement, where was the black unity then? Fighters, we must never allow black consciousness to be misused to con our people into forgetting, nor allow it to sanitize the legacy of failure and corruption. There are individuals who committed themselves to undermining the liberation of black people while in government and now, in an attempt to rescue their legacy of compromise and collaboration as head of state, director generals, CEOs of strategic state-owned enterprises. They reach for black consciousness as they approach their grave. When they were fresh, they didn't know black unity. Now they see the grave, they see black unity. It is our revolutionary responsibility to vehemently reject black unity born out of convenience and opportunism, to tell those who live lives of betrayal while they governed, that Steve Biko will not welcome them on the other side because they are non-white and agents of capital. Black consciousness is a political conviction that not only relies on the color of your skin, but also on your consciousness itself. You can be black, yet advance divisive politics of tribalism. You can be black, yet act as an agent of white supremacy and corruption. You may identify as black, but your character can still be defined by deception and dishonesty. You can be black and still sell out your brothers and sisters for a few pieces of silver. We, as the EFF, do not subscribe to unity based on skin color alone in our pursuit for liberation. We subscribe to a political unity defined by ideological conviction and honest politics, a unity that will bring about the defeat of our strategic enemy. Our enemy knows that it is the EFF that is the true liberation movement and not a pocket knife for individuals and self-gratification. In our history, we have never betrayed our people. As a result, we do not merely claim to be the home and inspiration of black people and black unity. We have earned this role. It is the flag and the logo of the EFF that strike fear into the hearts of the white capitalist establishment. This is because we have earned the fear of the enemy. For this, we must be proud. The EFF is not in a fight for its own survival, but because we already live in the hearts and minds of our people. We are now in a fight to defend the cause of liberation from losing legitimacy because criminals want to use ideology as a weapon of self-defense. If we allow the politics we subscribe to be delegitimized by criminals masquerading as messiahs of black unity, it will take decades of the left to regain credibility, and right-wingers and capitalists will rule us for centuries to come. It is for this reason, fighters, that we must fight jealously for the independence of Africa and the independence reliance on the use of Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is our scientific response to the Western world, which has turned Africa into a place for cheap, exploitable labor and the theft of our resources. It is the conscious decision that we need to unite as African people. We must never tire of pursuing the principle that Africa must unite from Cape to Cairo, from Morocco to Madagascar. We only have each other because everywhere in the world the black child is hated. We must unite because it is our unity that will place us at the center of the global economy. Not spectators, but as participants whose people meaningfully benefit from the wealth of our land. We are fighting for self-determination. We are the Pan-Africanist of Robert Sobukwe, and our journey must be to give Africa a more humane face. For too long, we have been made to hate each other because of our culture or our religious differences. For too long, we have been made to feel inferior. For too long, we have fought tribal and ethnic wars amongst ourselves. And for too long, our continent has bled while our colonizers benefited. Let us adopt the Pan-Africanist of Thomas Sankara and work our own land while we refuse to pay colonial tax. Let us live by the Pan-Africanist of Julius Nyerere and build a nation that is self-reliant and works together as a collective for the greater good of the Mother Africa. Let us walk side by side and be the Pan-Africanist of Robert Sobukwe and be arrogant in the need for African unity and undermine imperialism wherever it raises its ugly heads. It is Pan-Africanism which will liberate us and liberate the whole of Africa. We have suffered too much. Our blood has turned the soil of Africa red. It is time for us to resist this pain and give Africa a future of happiness. Let us march together as Africa, let us march together towards the liberation of our victory. Whether they hate us for this policy or not, we must fight for the unity of the African people. Comrades, we owe our African sister nations true solidarity. This means that we must strengthen institutions that ought to protect African sovereignty and democratic institutions. The Pan-African Parliament, the African Union must be brave institutions with teeth to protect the continent from Western interferences. We must never have a repeat of the betrayal suffered by brother leader Muammar Gaddafi, where he was surrendered to NATO forces by the former state president of South Africa and other African nations. We must speak unity of purpose, and that unity requires strong African institutions such as a standalone military army, a powerful Pan-African Parliament, and a Pan-African court, and ultimately one unitary African currency and one African president. It is the EFF that marched to the Israeli embassy calling for its closure because we cannot host genocidal nations that murder women and children, bomb hospitals, and target sites of religious worship. We went further and proposed a motion in the 6th Parliament of South Africa calling for the expulsion of the Israeli embassy and the cutting of all ties with Israel. A motion supported by a majority of members of parliament and adopted by the National Assembly. Your cowardly president of South Africa, who speaks with forked tongues on the genocide against Palestine, has to this day not implemented the resolution which was successfully passed in parliament. Since its inception, the EFF has worked tirelessly to ensure that parliament becomes a site of genuine representation, robust debate, and decisive action to address the pressing issues facing our people. Between 2019 and the present, the EFF has demonstrated its position as the qualitative official opposition, even when not numerically dominant. We have transformed Parliament into a platform where the voices of the oppressed are amplified, where the executive is held accountable, where progressive ideas take center stage. Our interventions has made Parliament accessible to the people, ensuring it addresses their lived realities. While the former liberation movement abused its majority to block progressive reforms, the EFF consistently pushed for legislation that reflects aspirations of the people. The EFF has existed with a love-hate relationship with these people on my left for the past 11 years, the media. And this has not changed. But we must express, what we must express is that we've maintained a healthy relationship with the media and been critical when it is necessary. Comrade delegates, the city press which said the EFF is going to die is itself dying tomorrow. Tomorrow they will be publishing their last newspaper when the EFF will be growing bigger and better. What we see in Ukraine today is nothing but a continuation of the American attempt through the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO forces, to consolidate the global territories against Russia and instill a unipolar global West hegemony. We stand with Russia and President Putin in his fight for a multipolar world against NATO. Ukraine is too small a country for us to believe that it is in a war with Russia. This is not a Russian-Ukraine war. This is an American NATO war against Russia and her sovereignty.
I'm a king, yes, I'm a king, I think I'm a king,